So barefoot training shoes. I've been lucky enough to have Vivobarefoot send me their new Motus Flex, and honestly, I'm a huge fan of this so far. For one, I love the color, I love the setup, I love the simplicity of it, but there's complexity within the simplicity. And with that comes the barefoot shoe model. If you know me, you know I love training barefoot shoe setup. Obviously, when you're traveling around, visiting gyms, you can't just walk around with no shoes on. So having a shoe wear that we can put on to protect our feet and have a little bit of grip is an added bonus to still maintaining that barefoot lifestyle. Right off the gate, I think they nailed it with the setup here. When it comes to the shoe, we have a separation. When it comes to the platform at the bottom of the shoe, sometimes in the past you've seen shoes that just have a complete one piece that's kind of around. They created some separation when it comes to where the big toe's at, that first metatarsal. So now when we're going through extension, it bends a little bit better. So whether it comes to your lunge patterns, your sled, I have that added grip, getting that bite into the ground, so it kind of eases into that position. So you can see with something as simple as the sled push, we want to make sure we have proper big toe extension. We want to make sure we can get those toes in that extended position. And the way they have this shoe cut out, it makes it a lot more natural and feeling the way I can kind of press off, but as well the splaying of my foot from having that barefoot shoe and not having my toes scrunched up in a regular shoe like a Vans or a Converse. Even though it's a flat bottom shoe, which is something we like, I want to have that big toe spread, let my foot pronate, all those actions of the foot, let that foot be a foot. And the shoe just allows me to have that. With the added grip of this new model on the ground, I can easily push this sled hundreds of pounds and not have to worry about grip or my foot sliding out. And as well, the big toe, we have a slight separation and we can see it underneath the bottom of the shoe that kind of adds a little bit more of a flex standpoint of the shoe between the big toe and the other four toes. So now when we step off or I'm cueing the foot into the ground with squats, with deadlifts, with single leg patterns, whatever it is, it gives me just a little bit more versatility in the shoe to let this shoe work magic and still give me that barefoot setup, but then with the grip of the shoe, there's a little bit more of a padding, a little bit more of a structure on the bottom. So when we're doing lateral movements, working in the frontal plane, being dynamic, so I can expose my body to all of these angles and still protect those positions so my foot isn't rolling over. Some barefoot shoes, or maybe you're not wearing a shoe, you're just wearing a sock, your foot will get that lateral slip where we're kind of rolling over the sole of the shoe. We're not getting it here with this little bit of lateral structure that they have. And I feel my foot is very stable. It almost feels like I'm not wearing a shoe, but I have that grip of being in the barefoot shoe where I can still keep my big toe connected to the ground, stay on that first met, and kind of redirect out. With that, Vivobarefoot also went with this quick lace setup. I'm not one that likes to tie my shoes. I like to throw them on and go for it. So this setup allows me to just kind of tighten them up, swing them up, and now I'm ready to go. Everything's locked in. I can push it all the way down, and these feel just like a sock that's really snug on my foot. Lastly, I really love this heel. The heel gives me a nice cup that I can fit my foot in. I've wore barefoot shoes in the past, and my heel doesn't feel very stable and comfort. This gives me a nice little cup that makes me feel supported in my heel. So when I'm sitting back on my heels, when I'm cueing into the ground, giving me those 3 points of contact pretty big between the first, fifth, and that heel, those metatarsals and that heel giving me that good tripod setup. This is key for that. Honestly, I'm a big fan of this shoe so far. I'm excited to take this a little bit further. If you're interested in Vivobarefoot shoes, definitely check them out at vivobarefoot.com and use the code Vernon20 for a discount on your next pair.